We live in a world where pleasure is available at the tap of a screen, the swipe of a finger, or the opening of a fridge door. And because it is so easy, we've mistaken pleasure for purpose. We've confused momentary highs with real happiness. But here is the truth. Most people never face. The constant pursuit of pleasure is the very thing silently destroying your strength, your discipline, your potential, and your connection with life itself. Every time you chase quick pleasure, you borrow happiness from your future. A few seconds of comfort create hours of regret. A few minutes of escape turn into years of wasted potential. Pleasure promises relief, but it delivers emptiness. And the moment the feeling fades, you go searching again, deeper, faster, more desperately, until your mind becomes numb and your soul becomes tired. Our pleasure is not the enemy, but addiction to it is. When your life becomes a cycle of consumption, food, entertainment, scrolling, validation, distractions, you stop living and start escaping. You stop creating and start craving. You stop growing and start sinking. The cost of chasing pleasure is invisible at first. It steals your focus. It kills your discipline. It weakens your mind. It drains your energy. It destroys your relationship with yourself. And slowly, without noticing, you become a passenger in your own life, watching days pass while nothing changes. True joy, true confidence, true fulfillment, these are not built through chasing pleasure, but through embracing discomfort, through choosing growth over ease, purpose over distraction, discipline over indulgence. The change you want will not come from another moment of comfort, but from breaking the invisible chains that pleasure has wrapped around your mind. The world tells you to treat yourself, but sometimes the greatest act of self-love is to say no, to reclaim your mind, to step out of the fog of instant gratification and remember who you are when you are not hiding behind a screen, a habit, or a distraction. Listen carefully, you were not created for a life of momentary highs. You were created for a life of meaning, a life where your actions matter, your discipline guides you, and your purpose lights the path ahead. Pleasure fades. Purpose endures. Choose the one that builds you, not the one that breaks you. The accessibility of pleasure in today's world is unprecedented. We live in an era where almost anything that can make us feel good is available at the tap of a screen or the click of a button. Social media, streaming platforms, fast food, online shopping, video games, and countless other sources of instant gratification surround us constantly. The human brain, wired to seek reward and avoid discomfort, naturally gravitates toward these opportunities, and the more we indulge, the more the mind begins to expect immediate satisfaction. This is not a trivial habit. It is a deeply rooted neurological process. Every time we give in to instant pleasure, dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical, is released. This creates a feedback loop. The brain associates certain actions with reward, and we are driven to repeat those actions to feel the same rush again. Over time, this rewires the brain, making it increasingly difficult to resist even the smallest temptations, whether it's checking a phone for notifications, binge-watching a series, or indulging in unhealthy eating habits. The danger lies in the subtlety of this process. The activities themselves may seem harmless, even enjoyable, but repeated exposure trains the mind to seek pleasure compulsively. It normalizes a pattern of avoidance, avoiding discomfort, avoiding effort, avoiding patience, and instead choosing whatever provides immediate relief or excitement. The world around us constantly reinforces this behavior. Advertisements, social media influences, peer pressure, and cultural messaging all tell us that happiness is something we should consume, not something we should cultivate. Each moment spent pursuing fleeting pleasure may seem insignificant, but cumulatively it shapes our habits, our desires, and ultimately our lives. Small, repeated choices create a life built on superficial satisfaction rather than meaningful fulfillment. Addiction to easily accessible pleasure also erodes self-control. The more we indulge in instant gratification, pull of instant pleasure. The first step toward freedom is awareness, Recognizing how easily accessible pleasure has created habits that are undermining our potential and choosing to reclaim control of the mind, one deliberate decision at a time. The pursuit of quick pleasure may seem harmless, even enjoyable at the moment, but it carries a hidden cost that few recognize. It steals long-term happiness. When we prioritize instant gratification over thoughtful action, we exchange temporary comfort for lasting consequences. Every small indulgence may provide a fleeting sense of satisfaction, whether it's scrolling endlessly through social media, eating a sugary snack, watching another episode instead of sleeping, or seeking validation through constant comparison. In the moment, these activities feel good. They flood the brain with dopamine, creating a sense of reward and relief. But this pleasure is shallow and short-lived, leaving behind a void that often drives us to seek more. The cycle repeats itself endlessly, and over time it erodes our capacity for deep, sustained happiness. Long-term happiness is not built on momentary highs, it is cultivated through intentional effort, discipline, and meaningful experiences. When we chase quick pleasure, we are essentially borrowing joy from our future selves. Every choice to satisfy an immediate urge may come at the expense of our health, relationships, productivity, and personal growth. A night spent binge-watching may feel relaxing, but it comes at the cost of sleep and energy for the next day. A day spent overindulging in comfort food may temporarily lift our mood, but can create health problems or guilt later. Seeking validation from likes, comments, or superficial approval may feel rewarding in the short term, but leaves our self-esteem dependent on external sources, rather than grounded in our own values and accomplishments. The problem lies in how the mind adapts. The brain becomes conditioned to expect quick fixes, creating a feedback loop that diminishes our ability to find satisfaction in slower, more meaningful experiences. Patience, delayed gratification, and the effort required for real achievement feel increasingly uncomfortable. Long-term goals like building a career, nurturing relationships, or developing mastery in a skill require consistent effort and often involve discomfort, sacrifice, and discipline. When our attention is consumed by seeking immediate pleasure, these essential pursuits are neglected or abandoned. Over time, the accumulation of small, seemingly inconsequential decisions to prioritize pleasure over purpose compounds, resulting in a life that feels unfulfilled, fragmented, and shallow. Furthermore, quick pleasure can dull emotional resilience. Life inevitably involves challenges, setbacks, and moments of discomfort. Those who constantly chase instant gratification learn to avoid these realities rather than face them. This avoidance weakens the mind and limits the depth of joy that comes from overcoming obstacles, achieving long-term goals, or forming meaningful connections. True contentment is a product of growth, struggle, and purpose. It is experienced most profoundly when it is earned rather than consumed instantly. Ultimately, the fleeting satisfaction of quick pleasure is a deceptive trade. In giving in to short-term desires, we sacrifice the experiences, habits, and achievements that create enduring happiness. By learning to resist immediate gratification, prioritize meaningful effort, and invest in long-term goals, we can break the cycle of borrowed joy. Real happiness emerges not from indulgence, but from alignment with values, deliberate action, and the patient cultivation of a life that matters. The small, conscious choices to delay pleasure today compound into a future rich with satisfaction, resilience, and fulfillment. Choosing comfort over effort is one of the most subtle yet destructive habits a person can develop, and it directly weakens discipline. Every time we opt for ease instead of challenge, we train our mind to avoid discomfort, delay growth, and seek the path of least resistance. Discipline is not something innate. It is a muscle that must be exercised daily. Just as physical muscles grow stronger through resistance and strain, mental and emotional strength develops when we willingly face discomfort and commit to effort. When we consistently chase comfort, however, we deny ourselves these opportunities to strengthen our inner resolve. The more we avoid effort, the more fragile our ability to stay focused, persevere, and take responsibility for our actions becomes. In modern life, comfort is everywhere, often disguised as convenience or entertainment. It comes in the form of endless scrolling, binge-watching shows, sugary snacks, luxurious habits, or the temptation to postpone difficult tasks. At first, giving in to these comforts seems harmless, even rewarding. A few minutes of rest, indulgence, or avoidance can feel like a reprieve from the stress of life. But each decision to prioritize comfort over action chips away at our self-control and gradually weakens our discipline. Tasks that require consistent effort start to feel intolerable. Goals that once seemed achievable now appear daunting. The mind becomes conditioned to seek immediate relief, and anything requiring sustained focus, delayed gratification, or personal accountability feels like a burden. This weakening of discipline affects every aspect of life. Productivity declines because we no longer have the stamina to complete demanding tasks or stick to routines. Relationships suffer because we avoid confronting difficult conversations or investing energy in meaningful connections. Health deteriorates when we prioritize comfort over exercise, nutritious food, or proper rest. The ripple effect is profound. When the habit of choosing comfort becomes a default pattern, it limits potential and slowly reshapes life into one of passivity and stagnation. Even when opportunities for growth appear, the weakened discipline prevents us from taking action. Comfort creates a subtle paralysis, making it easier to rationalize procrastination, avoidance, and mediocrity. Moreover, chasing comfort undermines mental resilience. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties. Discipline allows us to face these obstacles, push through resistance, and maintain consistency, even when it is difficult. Without it, the first sign of struggle can lead to surrender, avoidance, or retreat into pleasurable distractions. People who chase comfort rarely experience the satisfaction that comes from achievement earned through effort. They remain trapped in cycles of fleeting gratification, unable to cultivate patience, perseverance, or long-term vision. Ultimately, discipline and comfort are in opposition. Every choice to chase comfort strengthens the habit of avoidance and weakens the mind's capacity to endure, focus, and act. Real growth, success, and fulfillment are built through deliberate effort, commitment to responsibility, and the courage to embrace discomfort. By consciously resisting the temptation of ease and choosing challenge over comfort, individuals can cultivate discipline, build resilience, and unlock the potential that a life of instant pleasure alone can never provide. Excessive indulgence in pleasure, whether through food, entertainment, social media, or other distractions, gradually erodes the mind's sensitivity to real emotions, leading to emotional numbness. In small doses, pleasure is natural and even beneficial, providing relief, motivation, and enjoyment. But when pleasure becomes constant and excessive, it floods the brain with dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for reward and satisfaction, in a way that is unnatural and unsustainable. Over time, the brain becomes desensitized to these surges, requiring more intense or frequent stimulation to achieve the same feeling of enjoyment. This process is not limited to simple habits. It affects emotional processing itself. The mind begins to seek constant highs, while shutting down from more subtle, complex, or uncomfortable emotions, such as sadness, introspection, empathy, and even joy derived from achievement or connection. When emotional numbness sets in, life loses depth. The individual may feel superficially content when engaging in pleasurable activities but struggles to experience the full range of human emotions. Ordinary moments that once brought satisfaction, listening to music, enjoying nature, engaging in meaningful conversations, start to feel flat or uninteresting. Relationships suffer as well because emotional numbness reduces the ability to connect, empathize, or communicate genuinely. Interactions become transactional or performative, focused more on entertainment and distraction than authentic connection. Over time, this detachment can lead to loneliness, frustration, and a sense of emptiness, even amidst comfort and indulgence. The irony is profound. The very pursuit of pleasure meant to provide satisfaction instead creates a barrier between the individual and true happiness. But in our excessive pleasure also impairs self-awareness. By constantly seeking stimulation, a person avoids confronting discomfort, unresolved emotions, or internal struggles. Instead of facing sadness, boredom, anxiety, or fear, they escape into habits that temporarily mask these feelings. While avoidance may feel safe, it prevents growth, healing, and personal insight. Over time, the mind becomes conditioned to avoid emotions entirely, leading to emotional blunting. Individuals may find themselves unable to experience highs and lows naturally, reacting weakly to both setbacks and triumphs. The richness of life, the complexity of joy, sorrow, and resilience, becomes flattened into a series of shallow moments that provide temporary relief but little lasting meaning. The consequences extend beyond mental and emotional health. Emotional numbness affects decision-making, motivation, and long-term fulfillment. When one cannot feel fully, it becomes difficult to align actions with true desires or values. Choices are made based on avoidance or comfort rather than purpose or conviction. Goals are postponed, relationships stagnate, and the sense of self erodes gradually. Even when success or achievement occurs, it fails to bring the satisfaction it might have in a more emotionally attuned state, leaving the individual chasing ever more pleasure to fill the void. Ultimately, the overindulgence in pleasure creates a cycle of emotional dulling. The more one seeks constant highs, the less the brain and heart respond authentically to everyday life. True emotional richness arises not from excess, but from balance, experiencing pleasure without dependence, embracing discomfort without avoidance, and cultivating awareness and presence in both joy and pain. Emotional numbness is a warning that life's deeper experiences are being sacrificed for fleeting satisfaction, and breaking this cycle is essential to regain sensitivity, resilience, and meaningful fulfillment. Growth is never achieved through comfort or constant pleasure. It is forged in the crucible of discomfort, challenge, and effort. Life does not reward ease. It rewards persistence, resilience, and the courage to face what is difficult. Every meaningful accomplishment, whether personal, professional, or emotional, requires stepping outside of the familiar and confronting situations that test our limits. Discomfort is the natural catalyst for growth. It forces adaptation, learning, and the development of strength. Pleasure, on the other hand, provides temporary satisfaction but no lasting transformation. When we prioritize comfort over challenge, we stunt our potential, remaining within a safe, unchanging bubble where nothing truly new or significant can emerge. Discomfort acts as a teacher, revealing both our weaknesses and our untapped capacities. It compels us to problem solve, confront fears, and push beyond what we believed possible. The moments that feel hardest, the early mornings, the long hours of practice, the difficult conversations, the rigorous discipline, are the very moments that shape character, skill, and resilience. They demand patience, focus, and sustained effort, qualities that cannot develop in the absence of challenge. When we seek only pleasurable experiences, we bypass the discomfort that is essential for learning and growth. Life becomes a cycle of temporary satisfaction without the progress or fulfillment that comes from overcoming obstacles. Choosing discomfort over pleasure also cultivates self-mastery. Every time we resist the lure of ease, we exercise control over our impulses and reinforce the mind's ability to endure. Discipline is strengthened not when life is convenient, but when it is demanding. Facing discomfort intentionally through physical challenges, intellectual effort, emotional vulnerability, or delayed gratification teaches us to tolerate tension, manage frustration, and persevere in the face of adversity. Without these experiences, we remain dependent on external stimuli for validation and enjoyment, never discovering the inner strength that emerges from endurance and effort. Discomfort also fosters creativity and problem-solving. When life feels too comfortable, the mind stagnates. Routine and ease may feel safe, but they do not provoke innovation or growth. Challenges, setbacks, and uncomfortable experiences push us to think differently, adapt strategies, and explore solutions that would never occur in moments of comfort. Even failure, when approached with the right mindset, is a powerful teacher. It exposes gaps in knowledge, reveals weaknesses, and motivates us to refine our approach. Pleasure may soothe and distract, but it cannot teach the lessons necessary for true advancement or mastery. Finally, growth through discomfort builds lasting satisfaction and fulfillment. Pleasure provides a fleeting high, but achievement earned through effort and endurance produces pride, confidence, and a sense of purpose that endures. The satisfaction of overcoming difficulty is not comparable to the shallow relief of indulgence. When we embrace discomfort, we learn that life's most meaningful experiences require courage, patience, and tenacity. We develop resilience, sharpen our abilities, and cultivate a life rooted in purpose rather than fleeting moments. Oh, pleasure. In essence, discomfort is the gateway to transformation. By leaning into challenges instead of avoiding them, we unlock potential, strengthen our character, and experience growth that pleasure alone can never provide. The path of true development is never easy, but it is always rewarding. Purpose is the foundation of a meaningful life, and it is far stronger and more enduring than fleeting pleasure. Pleasure provides immediate gratification, a temporary sense of satisfaction or relief that fades quickly and often leaves a void behind. Purpose, on the other hand, gives life direction, motivation, and a deep sense of fulfillment that cannot be shaken by circumstances. It anchors the mind and heart, offering a reason to persevere even in the face of discomfort, setbacks, or failure. While pleasure is often reactive, a response to stimuli, purpose is proactive. It guides choices, shapes habits, and creates long-term vision. Individuals who live by purpose experience a form of satisfaction that pleasure alone can never provide because it is rooted in meaning, contribution, and alignment with values. One of the greatest strengths of purpose is its ability to sustain motivation over time. Pleasure is momentary. It disappears the instant the stimulus is gone. A piece of chocolate, a social media notification, or a night of entertainment can provide temporary joy, but it cannot carry a person through the challenges and responsibilities of life. Purpose, however, becomes a compass. It drives consistent effort, encourages perseverance, and provides resilience when life becomes difficult. When setbacks occur, those guided by purpose, long-term growth over immediate gratification, relationships over shallow interactions, and contribution over consumption. In this way, purpose strengthens character, cultivates resilience, and encourages living in alignment with values rather than impulses. Those who pursue pleasure without purpose may find themselves adrift, seeking constant stimulation without ever feeling truly fulfilled or significant. Ultimately, the lasting impact of purpose transcends time and circumstance. Pleasure fades, purpose endures. It provides meaning, sustains motivation, shapes identity, and cultivates fulfillment. Living with purpose transforms ordinary actions into significant steps, challenges into opportunities, and obstacles into lessons. A life driven by purpose is rich, resilient, and deeply satisfying in ways that fleeting pleasure alone can never achieve. Those who embrace purpose tap into a source of strength, clarity, and joy that remains with them regardless of the temporary highs and lows of life, making purpose far stronger and more lasting than any pleasure could ever be. Remember, pleasure is fleeting, and indulgence is temporary, but your life is permanent. Every choice you make today either strengthens your future or steals from it. The path of comfort may feel easy, but it leads to emptiness, numbness, and unrealized potential. True fulfillment comes not from chasing fleeting highs, but from embracing purpose, discipline, and growth. It comes from choosing discomfort over ease, effort over escape, and meaning over momentary pleasure. So take control of your mind. Step away from the endless cycle of instant gratification. Focus on what truly matters. Build habits that serve your long-term goals and pursue a life that leaves a legacy beyond the temporary highs. Pleasure will always fade, but purpose endures. Live for purpose, act with intention, and let the life you create be stronger, deeper, and more meaningful than any fleeting moment of comfort could ever provide. Your future self will thank you for the strength, clarity, and resilience you choose today.